How's it going, friends and family of the internet? Welcome to the Real AF TV podcast, a show about fishing and random takes from the land of 10,000 lakes. I'm one of your hosts, Josh LaBaw.
And I am the other guy, Tim Wagner. And I was thinking about it, man. I think you're the host, and I'm always on the show because you take the reins. You're calling the shots. You're like, this is what's this. This is what's this. I'm here for commentary and fishing questions and stuff. So I'm the other guy.
Okay, I don't feel that way because I mean, it's like you're the fisher though.
No, that's true. But
I have that what is that called? It's not self-doubt, but it's like imposter syndrome. Like,
oh, the imposter syndrome.
Yeah, I know what fishing is. I can hang in there with fishing. And in fact, our topic is another beginner topic. We'll get into that in just a second. Our fishing topic is. But yeah, your cred. You're just like,
hey, my cred is on point. This is true. But I think a host doesn't need to be the guy that knows everything. A host is the guy that directs the flow.
The show. Oh, okay.
And that's what you do.
Okay.
For sure. So I think you're the host and I fish.
Okay. I'll take that. Let's start off with the topic is going to be, we're bringing it back to some real FTV roots here with the learning, teaching, that sort of stuff, because I have what I'm calling Beginner Guide to Lures version 1, because we can probably do this 10, 12 different times or something like that. Yeah. I don't know. Right. But I wanted to bring it back to that and specifically touch on about 4 or 5 lures. Not going to say that now. We'll get into it. But that's what our fishing topic is going to be.
Yep.
Then in the back half, we're going to get into some video games again, man. We've been playing some big name titles. I know you've wanted to go off on Pokemon for a minute. So
for sure. Yep. So and I would like to say too, this beginner's guide, I think is going to be more of like a terminology thing. Like, I know that like we were getting in, like, when I started getting into fishing and stuff, like there's just so many different names. It's kind of like, what is everything? It's not going to be like a whole how to use it.
Yeah.
We just have some visual aids, and it's going to be kind of just like, what are these things? And maybe we'll touch a little bit on like when you're going to use them, or a little bit like quick blub of like what this is or how it works, but not like, here's, when the water temperature hits 60 degrees, it's not going to be that kind of episode. It's
good point. No, that's a really good point. I like talking about the specifics of the lures. Yeah. And then kind of saying like, okay, this is good for bass, but it can also do this, or okay, good. Perfect.
Whoops.
Let's see if our new production tools work this time around. Kick it off with the fishing news.
Ooh, the news. Nice.
So I hopefully the sound effects are going to make it into this. I lost them last week, but anyway,
really? It didn't work out?
Yeah, it didn't work out. I didn't
get a chance to listen back to the last one, but we heard it on our ends for sure.
Yeah, and luckily it was like reiterated. And so you knew where it was missing, but you didn't miss the sound effects either way.
Right.
Hopefully the new production tools make it in here. So there's our first new tool, the news sound effect. So that's how we always try to kick off the podcast, with some news. And this is just very much a kickback to what we talked about on the last podcast. It's a current thing. But I got this from the Minnesota DNR. And it is basically, again, if you go over, or again, I haven't even said it yet. Typical how this works. If you're new to the podcast, thank you, share with a friend and all that fun stuff. But what this is it's a news story. Pick it up. I put the link in the description of the YouTube video. So go find us over on youtube.com/@RealAFTV, real like fish and reel. Remember, 2 E's in the middle. And you will find the link if you want to read the whole article for what it is. Right now, me and Tim are going to talk about it. And it is winter kill is starting to show up now. because we got warm for a little while and cold again and all this shit. But the southern lakes are starting to show their winter kill is basically what this article is.
Thawing out a little bit, because the winter kill already happened and these fish just haven't been visible because the water was frozen. So now that it thaws out, now you get to learn. Because I don't know where they go.
I would assume they just float up and hit the surface of the
maybe they're just like literally directly underneath the ice, so nobody really sees it because the ice is kind of cloudy and your radar's not showing you stuff.
Yeah.
You know, you're
I get what you're saying, because like people ice fishing should find fish kill is what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
I get it. I would assume the currents have something to do with that.
Probably. Too. Quite a few lakes don't have
up.
currents, so they probably just kind of sit there and don't really move much because on lakes and stuff that don't have natural inlets and outlets, the wind is what generates the current. And when there's a giant cab of ice on the lake, the wind isn't doing shit.
Right. So. Which is actually part of the cause in a way of these kills. So we did a whole ice fishing episode, but just a quick recap is fish kill. If you don't know, it's oxygen gets too low and these fish start to die, which is typically caused by here in this case, in these cases, it's because the ice is so thick or there's so much snow on top of the ice that the sun can't get down far enough to keep the plants growing, the plants decay, CO2, no O2, fish start dying.
And it's cold like a little bit further into the water is what it seems to be, so the fish end up retreating down into that low oxygen area because the water up high is too cold for them to live comfortably, so they unknowingly swim down to where the water's warmer, and where the water's warmer there's not enough oxygen. So
thank you. Perfect.
It's like burning charcoal. That's why you don't burn a charcoal grill inside your house. Because everything seems fine, and then you go to sleep and you're just like, I think I need to take a nap. I don't know, I'm tired.
The next thing you know, you wake up dead.
You wake up dead. And waking up dead is the worst way to wake up. The best way to wake up, from when I was a kid, I was told was Folgers, but that's just a bullshit commercial. I learned later on life it is not the best way to wake up. Nice try. Folgers.
That is not the best part of waking up for sure.
No, it isn't. No. It's just a good slogan, and then you just believe it because you have TV and there's 4 channels and you hear it all the time. Then when you get older, you're just like, wait a minute.
Okay. So just wanted to bring the fish kill thing news up because these southern lakes that tend to be southern Minnesota lakes, they tend to be more shallow. So this applies to anybody who's listening across the country wherever it freezes, right? Is those shallow lakes tend to be the ones that this happens in, like Tim said, especially ones without any inlets, right?
Right.
Like that low
water. Yeah, because that'll help oxygenate the water too.
Right.
That moving water will actually help. But yeah, man, when it's that deep, shallow, it might be there's one spot of the lake that's like a foot deeper than the rest of it. And that's where all the decaying shit kind of gathers. And all the fish migrate to that one spot, and that's all it takes.
And then bam. Yep.
Boom.
And this is natural, by the way. Like that was one thing the article really made clear is like, hey, this is natural. This is part of the life cycle of a lake. This year, yes, was difficult. This particular winter we just went through is extra difficult, so it might appear to be a bigger one, or it might turn out to be a bigger one. We won't know until more lakes start to thaw out and shit, because we're still getting snow.
Quite a few lakes up north are still completely froze over.
Which goes back to our podcast the last podcast we did in episode 66, when it was like, what's going to happen with opener, right?
Yeah.
Just not to dwell back on that, but just saying like, we're still there. And this fish kill, you could end up going to a lake and get a fish kill and find a fish kill.
You could. And the reason that last episode, you can go back and listen to it, but the reason we were talking about it is because this state has crazy weather. If you're not from here, just so you know, we had like one of the snowiest winters on record. Last week, like Wednesday and Thursday, we were hitting 80s. Everybody's walking around in shorts.
Yeah.
And then the weekend, we got 8 inches of snow again. It's just like, what the fuck is wrong with this state?
Yes, that is Minnesota. That is
yeah.
So we went from that of Minnesota's like characteristics. Yeah. It's one of the 5 major characteristics of Minnesota or something.
Right. And we went from that whole, like last week I made that, or last episode we made that prediction where I'm just like, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen fast. And then it's 80s and I'm just like, I was right. And then 8 inches of snow and I go, I guess not. Who knows?
Oh, it's so funny. Okay, so quick back to the news, and then we'll get into the housekeeping and the fishing topic. But
oh yeah,
the winter kill. So the winter kills again. These winter fish kills, they're totally normal. DNR was like, hey, we actually account for that. Like we have been following, these bodies of water long enough where we kind of get their cycle and we can sort of help predict, and we stock accordingly. And that sometimes these winter fish kills are actually a good thing. Less fish, less competition, lets the other ones get bigger.
Sure.
So you could actually have a good year if you go to a lake, like let's just say you come into Minnesota for opener and you go to a lake and you find a fish kill and oh shit. Yeah, okay, maybe this year is going to be bad, but next year might be better. So don't just give up on it.
Sure.
It could be one of those situations where, again, less competition, bigger fish. Could happen.
Yeah.
It's part of the cycle.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's hard to say exactly what fish you're going to end up with. I think some of the winter kills
I get what you're saying.
Are why, some people would just be like, oh, it used to be a really good crappie lake. Now they're okay with walleyes, but the crappies are kind of bad. It's like, and it might legitimately just be because they had like one of those winter kills. And for whatever reason, they stocked more of one fish than the other. And now the system just kind of changes.
Sure.
We've never had the winter kill on Chaminade, but back in the day, it was known as a decent walleye lake. And now it's kind of changed paths into more of like they wanted to be like a trophy northern lake with like the regulations and stuff. So the DNR can kind of like just decide what they're going to do with lakes sometimes.
Sure.
Which is a little bit crazy. That they have that kind of power sometimes. With
just it is. It's pretty wild to think about.
Put them all back. Everybody else, 10. Keep 10 northerns. You're like, no, don't do that. You don't do it. Oh, like, okay. Whatever, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. But the DNR actually has a number in the article. Yeah. They have phone numbers to call, which I think, which is the part that I wanted to point out here as we wrap this up, because if you go there and there's an 800 number, it's just 800-422-0798. It's right there. And it says the office line is available 24 hours per day, 7 days a week. You can report this because that helps these, there's only so much data one DNR officer who has the area can get. So the sooner that they get a report, the sooner they can go investigate and know how to handle the situation too. And, maybe help better balance out the lake afterwards. So yeah, you anglers out there who are finding these fish kills, don't be afraid to call the DNR. It's helpful. There's nothing wrong with it. It's all natural. You're out there in the field. You're just an extra set of eyes.
Yeah, for
anywhere
sure. Yeah,
too. If you see this in anywhere across the country, right? You see something weird like that.
Yeah,
just call the DNR. Leave them a message. Right. Like the sooner they know, the sooner they can react.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I know in this day of information, everybody feels like everybody knows everything, but there's the only data the DNR is getting is what they see for themselves, and they don't go and look at every single lake. So you got to tell them what you're seeing to give them a heads up.
Right.
So it's, I think the turn-in poachers, that tip is also another line. If you see anybody doing some shit that's not cool, don't let them get away with it. Call them up. Say, hey, this guy's, I seen a winter kill.
Crappie in his boat.
Right. Yeah. wonder if you're allowed to do that if you want to. I wouldn't. The fish has been dead for a long time, but I wonder if those fish are just rotten too. I never even thought about that.
Yeah,
Probably
because
not
it's cold.
Yeah.
So are they already? They got to be rotten though because it's warmed up and it's thawed out. They have to be gross. Yeah. So yeah, we've never seen a fish kill. Is what we were saying. We've never seen a winter fish kill. But again,
no, all the lakes I ever fish are way deeper, so I've never dealt with it because deep lakes it doesn't happen on really.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it ever does on a deep lake. Yeah, you don't have to worry about going to where there's no oxygen. They can go way down and not have to worry about it.
Right. Yeah. All right. Let's jump into the housekeeping here. And yes. I always like to start it out with, we made a goal to put up some more videos and some more photos. We fell behind on that, but we did get the short video up. We are officially on shorts. If you go over to Instagram, if you go to, I posted it on Twitter, but if you go to the YouTube channel, Real AF TV, and if you find us on Instagram, again, just look up Real AF TV. We have it out there. We did make a short video. We're going to be working on some more of those. Just wanted to throw that out there. What else? We got a Patreon page. We'll talk about that in the break. This is an every other week podcast. If this is your first time hearing this, share that with a friend. But you can go over to YouTube Wednesdays and Fridays on our week off. We drop the topics split up, but you don't get any of the fun stuff that we just talked about in the beginning of the podcast. We keep it to just the topics. In a review, please rate reviews. We'll read it unless you're being a dick.
Then we'll read it and say you're a dick.
And we're on all of them, wherever you can write a review, find us. We're probably on there and you can write that review. Spotify and Apple.
Yep.
YouTube, and of course.
I would like to say too, if anybody has anything like that could be perceived as negative, I'm not even saying we're gonna shit on you. Like if there's something that you think we could do better because you think that we're not doing something well, let us know. We're not gonna take it and just be like, oh, listen to this idiot says that I say too many naughty words or whatever.
Right.
I'd just be like that. I mean, maybe a little bit, but also we didn't call this channel Real AF TV for no reason.
Right. Yeah. Because we just talk how we talk. Like we
talk how we talk.
Yeah. I don't like the editing yourself for the sake of, more listeners or more followers or any of that shit like that. Like, I just don't like that. I'm just going to speak how I speak. And I'm just going to talk about this topic, how I talk normally. And that's going to be how it goes. So like, you don't like to swear and then you fucking found the wrong place. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. You stumbled on the wrong podcast. I don't know where I was going with that. You're in the wrong area, you dumb son of a fart. What the fuck?
And I know sometimes that might feel weird because we do this like beginning and learning and
my headphone.
Like that, but what happened?
My headphone gave me like one loud chirp in my right ear.
What?
Because I said fart, and then I think the headphones are just like, give them a fuck. You on it? Because I was like, what the fuck is that? The headphones got mad. They're just like, we don't talk like that, you idiot.
Give you a high-pitched beep.
It's a beep. Oh, shit. That was weird. I've never had that happen before.
Super weird. Oh, yeah. I know one thing in housekeeping before we jump into the fishing topic here. We have a contact page. Please jump over there. That's a perfect place to give us feedback. Give us, a topic that you want to hear us talk about. If you want to, just say something out loud on the podcast, we might read it. Who knows? It could happen. But we get those emails by going to realaf.tv/contact. That sounded so good, dude.
One of the best poops ever. You know what that is? It sounds like this is one of my favorite poops I've ever heard. And I'm drinking a little bit of cognac. I'm not. Oh, actually, I'm saying I'm not a Hennessy fan, but that was because my first and like really only encounters with Hennessy was like straight out the gate when we turned 21, and then we could go buy booze.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, I got to know what this Hypnotic Hennessy is all about. And then I got him, and I'm just like, not for me, I guess. So, yeah, but Hennessy, I think I actually like. I think the Hypnotic is a little bit not for me. It's a little bit like that grapefruity, just a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, just not for me. But I'm popping this bottle. 2 reasons. One, this is my NBA special edition Hennessy, where I sold myself last year that I would pop this if I bought the bottle being like Timberwolves make it to the second round of the playoffs, we're popping it. Didn't happen. So I said, I'm going to pop this bottle when we make the playoffs this year. So that's what I did. And now I'm drinking Hennessy because we're down 0-2 game 3. We're behind at halftime. So hey,
cheers. I'm saving mine for the second half. I had we'll get into that. We'll get into that later. Okay. Yeah, take that shot of Henny. I've got to try. I got to try Henny again. But man, I've had cognac, and it's very smooth. It burnt my ass off. Even in my in my mid-20s, I had such a hard time. Warm Henny, right off the liquor cart, and I was like, I can't.
Really?
Yep.
Dude, that was warm, and there's a testament of the smoothness. I took that shot, and it's just so like I didn't just chase anything. It's a little bit there, but it's not.
Okay.
There's no bite at the back. It's just mellow, dude. I'm
gonna have to try it again because I drink whiskey now. So like I love bourbon now. So maybe your palate changes. It's probably been 10 years since I tried Henny.
And I think maybe that's the same kind of stuff that we've had. Like I do the whiskey too. I'm a whiskey guy. And there's that that bite on the back end. And this, like, it's just not there.
Huh.
So it's like, I think once you get used to whiskey and then you have this, you're like, oh my God, there's like nothing to it.
Wow. Okay.
So I'm
definitely down to try it again. There's no doubt about that, but,
and stay hydrated. Don't let any of your stupid friends tell you can't drink water when you're drinking alcohol. It's the stupidest thing ever.
Worst advice. No, I always drink more water than you drink of alcohol.
So much that was a thing back in like early years of drinking when people are just like, you're having water? Like, I'd prefer not to die.
Yeah.
It's going to sober you up. Water will not sober you up. If water sobers you up, that'd be the cure all for anything.
Right.
Get crazy at the bar and then have a glass of water and you're better. Doesn't happen.
Doesn't work that way.
Not at all.
It has a good chance of making your morning better.
Right. So drink responsibly. If you're underage, don't drink at all. But don't let your friends peer pressure you into thinking that not drinking water is cool. Yeah. That's the dumbest shit in the world.
That's dumb as shit. Exactly. Okay. Time for the fishing topic.
Oh, I love that.
We're
Water splash if it didn't come through. Just so people know, I was reacting to the splash of water.
New production things.
I loved it. That was good.
Okay. So let's talk about lures. Let's talk about some lures here. We're gonna talk, like you said, high level lure, like almost lure anatomy, for lack of a better word, and then just kind of like get into them. I call it version 1. Like I think I'm gonna call this topic beginning lure something version 1, guide to beginner lures version 1 or something like that.
Sure.
Because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5. And I'm thinking the 5 is a good number, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Because I think it'll make a good, 45, 60 minutes or whatever. But I just think that anything more than that, you start to get into not as much detail as we want to, or as I feel like we should.
Sure.
Because we're going to start even at the basics of like, we'll just start off with spoon, like something so basic like spoon. I want this to be, and if you're a seasoned fisher and you're listening to this and you're like, "Oh, this is fucking stupid. I'm going to turn it off." Well, share it with somebody who doesn't necessarily fish, right? Share it with your buddy over in accounting who's like fish curious, and have them listen to this so that way they can come join you and talk legitimately about it. There's so much terminology in any sport, like snowboarding was big for me. There was so much shit I realized I was speaking a different language.
Right.
When I was talking about snowboarding with snowboarding people, I was speaking a whole different language, and fishing's no different. And I need that refresher now. Now I know what a spoon is, and I know what some of these things that we have on the list. I know what they are, but even I fucked up one later where I had to have you bring the visual because I thought I had one. Turns out, nope, you had this instead, Josh. You were wrong. I'll point that out when we get there, but like it just was more to my point of like, we haven't done one of these beginner guides in a long time. Let's start it off let's kick one off by doing like a series. And I think this might be a series that we do kind of over the next year or so, or just as a real AF TV thing. So anyways, I said we were going to kick it off with spoons. I got a spoon. I got a little spoon. If you're on the podcast, we are going to be doing, like, if you just listen to the audio feed, we are doing visual aids on this one. I have this orange, hyper orange and hyper yellow spoon. And I put down all these descriptions. I'm like, it's kind of like a stretched out egg. And it's concave on one side and it's convex on the other. And then I just realized I was writing down all this stuff and went, it's just a spoon without a handle on it. Oh, you muted yourself, Tim.
Yes, I did. I apologize. I was grabbing some shit, moving some stuff around, and I was making a little bit of noise, and I forgot to unmute it. I think that's where it came from. I think that's probably what it started with.
Yeah.
Where somebody's like, I need it to move around, and they just like, got the idea of, what if we poured this spoon and then just didn't pour the handle in? And then put a hole on the one side and put a hook to it, because it just kind of flutters. It might even happen that somebody's sitting out there, eating their canned meats. They're just out in the boat, bobber fishing, having some canned meats, and they slips and they watch it go flop, 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 all the way down, and they go, oh,
right,
that looked like a dying bait fish. I wonder if I tied that to a line and casted it in, seen what happened.
Yeah.
And then they learned that they could cover more water with a spoon, and they're just like, bingo, bango, yeah. And then they started doing that. And then I think it just kind of evolved from there. I think spoons are probably one of the first lures that came about.
Yeah.
Because it was easy to put just a hook on a piece of metal, cast it out, reel it in, and it was just kind of create some flash.
Yeah. And now that you're saying that, I realized that I described what I call the top part of the spoon. I said it was hyper yellow and hyper orange. It's got this stripe down the middle of it. The other side is just silver. Yep.
Yeah. Like, so you got a little bit of color, because as it's going through, it's going to have a little bit of that color, a little bit of that flash. You're going to have both sides and going. So, and they're different colors and stuff too. Like I got, mine, the one side, the one that I grabbed is silver on that side. On the other side, still pretty silver.
Still silver.
Yeah. Kind of looks like a bait fish. So that's kind of giving you like a flash. Looks like.
Yeah. That one had an eyeball on it. And also you said put a hole in it. Yeah. So like if you think about it like an egg, the pointy top part.
Yeah.
That's got a hole in it. You put your line there. And at the bottom, there's another hole that has a hook in it. Now mine just has a treble hook hanging off the bottom. Just a regular hook with 3 hooks on it.
Yep.
Seems pretty typical for a spoon.
Yeah. So that's kind of like the originator. That's where they kind of came from. I think they were a little bit more football shaped when they first started out. I think they learned
Mm-hmm.
that having it, bigger towards the back and pointed towards the front gives you a little bit more control with it. But I think
Oh, okay.
initially, it was more football shaped and it would just kind of roll. And now when you like let it go, it just kind of flutters and stuff, I think. But
Mm-hmm.
there's quite a few different shapes actually. Like a spoon has evolved from a spoon like where it's a shape like a spoon, where it's kind of, where you were saying the concave or convex.
Yeah.
It's, I think, technically both because it
It's
depends on
both.
what
Yeah.
side of the spoon you're looking at. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
but now you got like ice fishing has so many different kinds of spoons. Like
Whoa.
there's smaller Castmaster ones that a
So
lot of people use in the
explain a
summer.
regular, like the.
Well,
Oh, okay. Hold
that's
on.
technically a spoon where it's completely flat, no concave or convex. But when you turn it to its side, this is like the same shape as like a Castmaster one that people use in the summer and stuff. This one's made
Whoa.
by Northland.
Yeah.
I don't know. But this one has the treble hook
And
like
it's tiny,
normal.
like an ice fishing. Like you could tell it's an
And
ice
this,
fishing because it's super
yeah.
small. I mean, it's
And
like.
this one has like an extra little flange. It kind of looks just a little piece of metal on the bottom. It looks kind of like a tail, so it can give some more shimmer and shine when you're kind of bouncing it up
And
and
is the
down.
hook in there too?
The hook is right behind it. Yeah, if I flip it over, you might be
Yeah.
able to see
Yeah.
the
Yep.
backside's white, and then
Yep.
you can see that treble.
You can see it. So yeah, it,
Yeah,
it still has its tip, and then it
yeah,
has down at a tail, and it has another treble
yeah.
hook on it, kind of like
So
a
then,
traditional spoon.
yeah, I don't know if you can see that one that well. Maybe
That
I'll
one's
try
pretty
to.
hard to see, but hey,
I got
put it up.
two here. Maybe this one will show a little bit better the color. I don't know what the fuck is this. Some
Is
piece
this
of
an ice
paper.
fishing one again, or are these two that you just picked up? Are they ice
Yeah,
fishing
no,
again?
these are ice fishing ones again too. But you can totally use this kind of stuff in the summer.
So
I don't know if
before
you
we
want
go, before
to
we go
hold
into
it up.
the ice fishing ones again.
I just found a random piece of paper.
Yeah, I
That's
see
kind of
it.
like an S shape.
Yeah.
It's like a little bit different. That one's made by Clam,
Okay.
and that one has two. The treble hook is hair.
Yeah.
There's a hook in there, and then it
There's
has
a
the
hook
hair.
in the
It's feathers.
treble hook in the hair,
Yep,
hanging
it's
off the back.
feathers and like a little bit of tinsel. It looks like,
Sure.
but
So
yeah. So there's a bunch of different types of spoons, shapes of spoons. But sorry, go ahead. What were
yeah,
you
I
saying?
guess so. But so ice, the ice fishing. Let me go back to the spoon I had, right? The initial
Yeah.
spoon that we were talking about, the one, that big silver one that you pulled up.
Yes.
That's open water. You just throw it out and you start reeling it in, and the pointed end of the spoon comes towards you. The treble hook falls out the back,
Yes.
and you start reeling, and it's a cast and retrieve. Wouldn't
Yeah,
that?
for the most part. Yeah, yeah. You can get a little bit more creative with it. There's different ways to do it, and when you retrieve it, it will kind of just like it'll kind of go like this, and it'll kind of like every once in a while like flip over once and come back and stuff. But you can pause too, and it'll kind of like flutter down like this, and
Okay.
sometimes it'll roll a little bit on the bottom. And if you reel it fast enough, you can actually get, if you keep your rod tip up and fast enough, this spoon can glide along the top of the water, and you
Whoa.
can kind of work it like a topwater bait.
No way.
Yeah, so there's some possibilities to work this, and I think people started putting that stuff together with a
Uh-huh.
spoon, and then they started being like, what if we made a lure specifically for that? And started, really putting stuff together. Well, what if we made something that floated for the top of
Oh,
the water, and we could pause it every once in a while
right.
instead of having to burn it on the top of the water so it doesn't sink,
Right.
you know?
Okay.
So yeah, you can, it'll essentially, because of its shape, where it is kind of like that cup, if you get it going, it's almost like a little boat,
Mm-hmm.
it'll
Yeah.
sit right on the top of the
I can
water.
totally see how that would work. And I've done it with some smaller spoons as it got close to the dock. Cause for the first time ever, I've actually thrown a spoon here in the last few years with, being able to get out more COVID because you couldn't go anywhere. And, uh, and getting more in, deciding to start the podcast, right? We decided to start the podcast as a way to influence ourselves to get out on the water as much as we could. And I have thrown a spoon. I've threw a spoon I really threw a spoon and started working and watching it not too long after we started the podcast. And the things you're saying, I didn't know. I thought it was supposed to spin in a circle like a tube. Like it was supposed to just roll on itself constantly 360 and go through the water. And so I thought I tied it on wrong. I thought maybe I was supposed to have a swivel on it. Like I couldn't fucking figure it out in my head. And I just never brought it up to you or on the podcast before. Because I was like, I don't know. And I just kept playing and working with it, and it kept doing the same thing, which appeared to be random to me.
Yeah, basically. I mean, that randomness is kind of like what a dying fish does too. It's not the same thing over and over and over. So that erratic action a lot of times triggers a fish into biting. So it does go, but having a swivel on it also is not a bad idea.
Okay.
I shouldn't even say not a bad idea. It's something you should do.
Oh.
Because where it's spinning and stuff, that creates line twists, and it can mess with your line. So you put that swivel on, it allows the lure to, twist and stuff without fucking up your line.
Yeah, it allows the spoon to do what a spoon is supposed to be doing, like you said, flop and wiggle and be random in the water without fucking up your line. It makes a lot of sense.
So some of the spoons are shaped a little bit different to do different stuff, especially with like ice fishing.
Back to that for sure, because that I didn't even understand when you brought it up. We talked about it before, but I still can't wrap my head around it.
Like that S-shaped style spoon that Clam makes. Meps has made one for a long time called a Cyclop.
Okay.
And that's, Meps is like the inline spinner. We'll get to those, but like Meps is known for making like inline spinners like this.
Yeah.
Where we'll talk about that in like a little bit, but
yeah, for sure.
They also make a spoon called a Cyclops, and it kind of looks like it has one eye, and it's kind of like an S-shaped spoon, and it's basically a spoon that works in a different manner. It almost does like that spinning you were talking about, but it spins a little bit different. It's almost like a tighter spin because it's not a big, it's like a thinner profile with that S.
Sure.
And that S almost like lets it spin in the water faster. Like I can't think of a good comp to what it would be like.
Yeah, because it's like
it has less resistance.
Yeah. It's just more hydrodynamic.
Yep. So it spins and stuff.
So how does it work? Like, because we're talking about cast retrieve, right? Like that's what a spoon is built for. So when you're just dropping it into the hole, how the hell does that work?
So that you're just kind of making it bounce, man. Like if this were for visual, like ice fishing and stuff, it's just kind of there. You're just kind of like letting it bounce. Sometimes you can let it fall a little bit and flutter and stuff, but basically you're just kind of sitting it there. That's why that other one had that other piece of metal down here on the hook.
Yeah.
And then and when you have the feathers and stuff too, it's just bouncing there. And then in ice fishing, a lot of times they'll top it. Like they'll put like a minnow head on here or some wax worms on the hook. Yeah, and just kind of bounce it around and stuff.
Okay.
But there's more than that too. Like the spoons get into there's a couple different variations that are the Johnson silver minnow has been around forever.
Okay.
And the Johnson silver minnow has a metal bar that goes up here and a single hook that comes off the inside of the spoon up. Whoa. And that metal bar goes to the hook, so it makes it weedless.
Oh,
and then you can these. So it only has the one hook on the top, so you're casting that out, and then that one
is hard to explain to the audio listener. Like,
I know it's like
the way like they did that, I was like, I kept trying to make that into words in my head, and I'm going, I've seen that, but I don't know how to put that into words. So sorry, audio.
Imagine
so
if you have your spoon right? Like a legitimate spoon in your kitchen that's sitting in your silverware drawer.
Mm-hmm.
So you have it, the concave side is up.
Mm-hmm.
So off the very front of the spoon, the tip, like where the cereal would go.
Yeah.
That's where a little metal bar would come back and get rid of the handle of the spoon. Off the back part of the spoon where the cereal would go, the hook rises up off of that and curves towards the front to meet that metal bar.
Perfect.
And that's what it is. And that metal bar is pretty flimsy. So when a fish bites it, it won't stop it. It's like stiff enough that it's made to deflect weeds, but flimsy enough that a fish's mouth will depress it so it can get the hook in its mouth still.
Yeah. Nice.
And then they have like Northland makes a jawbreaker that has like plastic versions of that same weed guard.
Okay.
And the same sort of a hook setup where the hook is on that side. But then they add a skirt.
Oh.
There's a skirt. So that one dances a lot more back and forth, almost never rolls because the skirt, far less hydrodynamic,
right, kind
doesn't
of
allow it to
there.
roll. Yeah, it just kind of, the front of it just does the dancing back and forth, and the back kind of stays put a little bit.
Yeah.
Interesting. And
Man,
I'm sure there's other ones out there that I'm not naming, but those are just some examples.
Yeah. To go back to the hook quick before we move on to the next one, like I said with mine, it's a treble hook. I think everything you've showed is a treble hook too.
Yes.
There's all these different variations. Is it just standard? Put a treble on there?
Yeah, standard for a treble, except for those ones that I was talking about where you put that single hook on the inside of the spoon.
Right.
But it's always a treble. It's always a treble hanging off the bottom. But I will modify it. I think there's even a clip out there somewhere that we put out where I was talking about the small ones for panfish. Where I'll replace the treble hook with a single hook and put like a little gulp minnow on there or whatever, just tip it, and then the fish will come and smoke that. So it's a little bit different because you can like that kind of spoon. I actually like jig off the bottom like it's a jig.
Oh,
I'll let it fall all the way to the bottom and rip it up off the bottom, and as it's fluttering back down is when they eat it.
Okay. And jigs we're gonna get into too. You're covering.
And there's jigging spoons too. Like,
okay.
The jigging spoons are basically the ice fishing spoons that I showed you, but they have way bigger versions, and people will use those. Like you'll see, watch the Bassmaster Classics and stuff. There will be guys that use the Castmaster like big versions for bass in the middle of the summer.
Really? Okay.
Out in deeper water, just jigging it up and down.
Yeah.
Yeah. It works. There's times and places for a spoon for sure.
Yeah. Kick ass.
Oh man, sorry.
Damn, that got way deeper than I expected. Like my notes weren't that big, and all of a sudden here we are, like 20 minutes, like 20 minutes in on just that.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, a little bit of inside baseball. I told Josh before we started, I was like, "This is probably going to need to be more than one episode."
Yeah, probably. So if we don't get to all 5 of them, then that's a real AFTV list. We went long in the beginning, so this is going to be a longer podcast for anybody who is kind of new or you've been with us a while. Sometimes we just rant on. So whatever. Okay, Tim, you have the dock. You already said inline spinner earlier, but I want to know, where do you want to go knowing that like we're already 20 minutes in on a spoon?
Yeah, dude. Let's talk about the spinners. Let's do it.
Okay, because the way that you were talking about the spoon, and you said like, hey, I think a lot of things started with a spoon. Like you basically said, if I were to imply fishing history without having dove in and done the research, that spoon was probably one of the first things to happen. Yeah. And I look at a spinner and I go, there's spoons on a spinner.
Yeah.
So
pretty much.
So it's crazy and a good transition because we'll have to get into buzz baits, because that was what I did. I thought I had a spinner I thought I had bought a spinner. And on my on screen right now, I'm showing everybody, like, if you're on YouTube, this is a buzzbait.
Yep.
I thought I bought a spinner and I went to get it for tonight, and I was like, oh shit.
Yep.
That's a buzzbait.
And and a buzzbait is basically, I mean, it's the same idea as a spinnerbait, but that buzzbait blade is made to move a lot of water, so that shit sits right on the surface.
Right. Yeah.
And it creates a lot of chaos.
Yeah. And we can jump into that. I think we can just roll buzzbait maybe even into spinnerbait. I don't want to say they're the same thing, but like I think you're right. Like we should start with the spinnerbait because spinnerbait has spoons on it.
Right.
But it's not a spoon.
No. So
you go ahead. You go first.
I mean, these ones they consider these blades.
Oh.
So when you're talking about spinnerbaits and inline spinners and stuff, they always call those blades.
Okay.
But basically what they are is just like you said, is a spoon. And like this one on this spinnerbait, I'll try to move my hand a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a football shape.
It's totally,
but it's made
like one of those when you would buy a flick football.
Yeah. And this one is a KVD. This is a double willow. So this is a spinnerbait. So it's like a V shape. These are also referred to as a safety pin.
Oh, dude, because the metal part of it looks like an open safety pin.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yep. Yeah, because
that's a great description.
Yeah.
The metal V, that's what I wrote down too.
Yeah. So it's a metal V or like an open safety pin. It even has like the point is probably kind of hard to see, but the point is kind of
the visual that you're showing is the point of the V. It looks like a hinge of a safety pin, even. Kind of.
And that's where the loop is. Some of them will have it closed, some of them will have it open.
Really?
I prefer the closed, but a lot of them are open. I mean, I guess that's just a personal preference, but
sure.
I can't call the manufacturers and be like, "Can you close that, please?" I think they do have little rubber bands that you can get and put that on there if you don't want your line sliding up and down and stuff, because it can slide on the safety pin. But the main difference in a spinnerbait, which this is referred to as a spinnerbait, is this head weighs different amounts. It's basically like a jig on there.
Oh, okay.
For a weight.
Yeah.
So that'll weigh different amounts. This is a 1/2 ounce.
Yep.
And then these blades will change like sizes with the bait, but the big difference is the shape of the blade itself. You might be able to see. I grabbed some of my musky stuff.
Oh yeah,
so it's a little bit easier to see.
And let me explain it too for anybody who's like, let me give a full explanation because we talked about the metal V, but then on either side of like the ends, on the left side or right side, doesn't really matter, but like there on one side, there's what Tim said. It's like a lead weight, and then it always seems that there's a skirt and a hook.
Yep.
And then on the other side are where what I was calling the spoons, they're called blades.
Right.
And so there's always blades on one side of the metal V, and there's always a weight, a hook, and a skirt on the other side.
Yep. And just for size difference, like this is more of a bass one, and this is a musky one. You can see that there's that second hook way back here. There's a hook here. And a hook here.
Yeah, I see that now that you pointed it out. Hooks. Yeah, it's a little hard for me to see, right? But yeah. So there's two. There are two hooks on.
I wonder if I move up.
And they're just the J hooks now. Like, I don't know a different word for it, but they're not trebles.
Yeah,
like we were just talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to put it, as J hooks. I don't know what you would typically.
It's a pretty standard, right? It's just like a standard fishing hook. Like,
yep.
That's what.
And this one actually has, it's like a single hook in here. Okay. And then there's another hook. This one's like free floating.
Oh.
So this one has feathers and stuff like wrapped onto the hook, but it has a second hook because this is a really big one for muskies and stuff. But basically, the differences in your blades are going to be the differences in the speed that you can retrieve everything.
What?
So
really,
these willow blades spin a lot faster, have a lot less resistance. That's a willow blade where
Okay.
it looks like a big football.
Yeah. And
This
it's a willow
short,
leaf, I would assume, right?
yes.
I'm not
Yep.
big on trees,
Right,
but
exactly.
I think we've said that
And
before.
yeah, so that's a willow like leaf is what it's named after. The other blades, I don't necessarily know where they come from, but see this other one's like round?
Yeah.
That's called a Colorado blade.
Okay. It's almost just like a
And
drop, like if you think about like a water drop, really. It's really
yeah, a
wide at the
little,
bottom and kind of pointed at the top,
yep. But closer to round.
but really
Cuz
close to round. Yeah.
yeah, cuz when you get in between the Colorado and the willow, which I don't have an example of, I mean it'd be kind of more shaped like this blade
Okay.
where this one's a little bit,
Yeah, I see
that's
that.
called an Indiana blade.
Oh. Yeah,
So
that
there's the,
the Colorado was way rounder than that.
yeah. So like this one has 2 willow blades on it for the bass fishing.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
And this, yeah. And that one I can reel a lot faster.
Okay.
Like I can burn that through the water if I want to.
Uh-huh.
Where some days I have some that have just one big ass Colorado blade on it.
Really?
So you can just reel it slow. That big blade moves a lot of water and it has more resistance and you can fish it a lot slower.
Okay.
And if you fish it faster, like there's just a lot more resistance.
Okay.
But those, I mean, it's almost impossible to burn a Colorado blade. Like the resistance is just like you're really cranking it. And
Oh,
the willow
really?
blade just comes through the water easy. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
So those
And
not
then,
only it's not necessarily it is, but it isn't, but just hang in there with the story is
yeah.
the shape of the blade is it literally comes down to the hydrodynamics of how fast you can burn it through the water. It's not necessarily technique, so to say.
Right.
It's like almost a physical, it is the physical hydrodynamic of the blade that makes your technique different.
Correct. Yep.
That's wild. I would.
And then there's also different variations of like color and stuff. You can see that this one has, it might be hard to kind of see on the thing, but this big one's gold.
Yep.
Little one's silver.
Oh.
So you can get different variations like that. This one's silver on both, but the blades are hammered. So it has a different flash to it.
Yeah, it's got that golf ball indent look on it.
Yep. And then there's other ones that you can buy too that are like this, where you got gold on one side and the other side's painted.
Right.
You know,
it's still a bright color, but it's just painted. It's not shiny at all.
Exactly. And they have that in spinnerbaits and stuff too. So there's a whole world of spinnerbaits. Like that's why it's like, here's a couple of the basics. Go to your local bait shop and look through the spinnerbaits. It's like a whole fucking aisle, dude. It's like the whole thing.
It's its own aisle.
And then you go over into the muskie section and there's like its own section as well, where there's all these different, because there's all these different sizes. I have so much shit, but I only grabbed a couple of them to show everything.
Right.
And then those blades and everything, there's hybrids, everything starts getting on everything else, you know?
Yeah. We kind of talked about that in I think it was our 5 fishing tips. You had sent a hybrid one and it was like, whoa.
I don't know if you can
crazy.
See this one too, but like how we were talking safety pin. This is literally just a safety pin. Like, look at that. You flip in half.
You're even bending it like you could close it.
Yeah.
It literally looked like you were going to close the safety pin because it also had the closed tip on it.
Yep. That one has the closed tip.
That's crazy. So let me ask about the skirt, because you've showed 2 of them.
I got that. You ever seen? There's an SNL skit with Timothy Chalamet. I don't know if I'm saying his last name right, but
yeah, I think so.
And then Pete Davidson.
Okay.
And it's like a fake rap, and they're just up there going, skirt, yeet, skirt, yeet.
It's the best, dude. It's so funny.
So when you said skirt, I'm just like, skirt.
Sometimes I just do that, and my wife is like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, is skirt? You don't get it. You just don't get it. Yeet.
Yeet. Skirt. Yeet.
And the host, it's just so funny. She's at the beginning of it, she's just like, and we're here with two overconfident white boys.
Skirt that, yeet that.
It was so good.
Oh man, yes, I've done the same. I find myself doing that shit driving the delivery van, and then like looking around, like I get lost in the moment sometimes, and nobody else is. I just look around, like, wonder if anybody just saw me, you know, just yelling to myself, skirt, yeet. Oh, anyways,
Speaking of funny stuff that my wife didn't get, we got to talk about that reel that you sent me, where they're at the Comic-Con.
Oh,
yeah, we got to talk about. I got to tell you a story about that. We'll do that after the podcast, dude. That shit made me laugh so fucking hard. I didn't even message you back because I was.
Oh hell yeah, dude! Such a good unintentional burn. Oh, stay tuned to the next segment to get into that shit.
So, all right, back to spinners quick before we jump off, because you had two, and this was part of the questions that I had, and I kind of wanted to get hopefully, the listeners got the same questions as me. That big old musky one had feathers for a skirt, and your bass one had, I don't even know what that is, a plastic of some sort. So obviously feathers and these plastics are water resistant, but the feathers can't really be all that water resistant. I mean, can you talk about that a little bit? Just like
the feathers have more of like kind of a natural flow. So the back has a feather on it, but the rest of this is actually animal hair.
Oh,
which animal hair? I'm not quite sure on this one.
Mm-hmm.
This is a Northland. But like, they commonly refer to these inline spinners as bucktails because it's deer fur.
Really?
Yeah. So that's
I've definitely heard bucktails. I just didn't realize that was it.
Yeah, it's something with like the deer fur. The deer hair is like resistant. It's made to like repel the water.
Yeah, it's super hydrophobic.
So they use deer hair. So you're dealing with like actual animal hair, and this shit is just like bleached and dyed. Like this is real animal hair on here.
Yeah, they just bleached the shit out of it and turned it bright yellow and bright orange.
Right. And so like an inline spinner is, dealing with the kind of same stuff, because when you're talking about a spinner bait, technically there's the safety pin style and the inline style.
Yeah.
So on an inline style, you're dealing with a treble hook inside this fur, and on a musky one, you're dealing with two. There's one down here,
and hanging out of the back of the fur.
Yep.
And then there's one hidden inside the fur.
There's one in there. I don't know if you can kind of see that.
Kinda.
Try to pull the hair there.
Yeah.
So there's one up here, one on the bottom. Normally there's two. In a bigger bait like this, like a Mepps Muskie Killer, will have like a longer midsection here with the hook on the bottom.
Okay.
So this can change sizes
from the weight. It gets the hook back a little bit from the weight.
Yep. So that'll change sizes. The hair can change sizes. There are that bucktail style that have tinsel, even just a bunch of flash. Yeah, different. I don't know if it's Muskie Mayhem that makes them, but a very popular one is called a Cowgirl.
Christmas tree hanging off the back.
Yeah, kind of, dude. That's what it looks like. It's just a bunch of flash. It flails in the water nice, and then it has a lot of flash to that tinsel, so it attracts them and stuff.
Right.
So it's called a Cowgirl, is one of the more popular ones. And that one, I don't think they make a natural hair in the Cowgirl. I think it's all tinsel.
It's literally just that flashy stuff.
Mm-hmm. I think the whole line is that tinsel.
Yeah.
And then you start moving into like double Cowgirl has two freaking blades. And this is a number 5.
Let's pause for a second on the inline spinner. This isn't the V anymore. We're just talking about like a line, like straight through. From there's an eye, and then there's a weight, and there's a spinner. There's a blade.
An eye. Yep, and the blade will spin
around the weight.
Yeah, I'm not doing a good job at spin like that.
So the weight kind of spins around in front of the weight, The blade spins in
Yep.
front of the weight, and then there's hooks attached just behind the weight.
Yep. On the behind the weight is a like O-ring.
And does it
then
always
that
spin in a circle
attaches
like
to
that? Is it
hooks.
always just like a
Yeah.
prop? Just
Yep. Yep. Those ones spin in a, and this is a really big version, but like MEPS makes smaller ones. Shit. I got hooks everywhere. So I'm like picking up
almost sticking to
lures
your
with my
hoodie and shit.
sweatshirt.
Oh God.
But it's okay. I'm good. Um, there's smaller ones that I've talked about in like smallmouth episodes where we're talking about fish in the river. The smaller MEPS aglia goes down to like a 2-3 size blade. And those, are awesome for smallmouth and stuff. And that just has one single treble hook on it. A lot of times that has like I prefer the ones that have like a little bit of natural hair with a red feather. And then that's on the treble hook. This is a number 5. These ones get bigger when the numbers go up. And I've seen some of those with like dual number 12s.
What?
Dual 13s, maybe even dual 14s, dude. I can't even remember.
God.
Massive. The amount of drag that they put on when you're trying to reel in that shit, because they're a lot of times like that Colorado style too.
Oh, really?
It's just amount of vibration to like, so the muskie feels it.
Okay.
And I've thought to myself, like, I just want to burn this in. And I'm like, I can't fucking move this thing. Dude.
You get tired after 3 casts. You're like, fucking
yeah. You just can't. I mean, it's just like burning it in is like not a possibility.
Oh my God. That's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how big that gets. That's just nuts to think about.
Some of those are massive. Like, I mean, this one goes, just past my wrist. I have some where if I hold it here, they're
oh my God,
getting close to my elbow.
And you're a tall dude. So you got some length on there.
And dude, the biggest muskie I ever caught was when it ate like a 2-pound bass I had on, so they can handle it,
Right. So before we kind of merge into buzzbaits here really quick, because that was the one that I've totally fucked up.
Yep.
I wanted to ask depth on these things. Like, how do you fish these depth wise? Like the inline spinners, the spinners in general, like they have have weight on them.
Yeah.
But like, how do you fish it?
So you can burn them on the surface. These inline ones, you can burn them like so they actually are causing kind of like a wake underneath the surface at dusk. That really works well.
So you get them just like inches underneath the water and it causes a ripple on top?
Yeah, pretty much.
Without breaking the water?
Exactly.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So a little bit of it's trying to like time it or like really figure out the speed that you need to go. Because if you go too fast, it's going to break the surface and it's not going to work. And if you go too slow, you won't get it to the surface. But too slow is not really a problem. You might not just, it might not do that whole disturbance on the surface.
Right. Okay.
But you can kind of fish anywhere you want in the water column. You just kind of got to count it down. And then, practice with it and see how fast you should reel it to try to get it to stay in the same area. If you cast it out, if you reel faster, it's going to bring it up to the surface as you're reeling faster. And it will naturally come up to the surface because you're at the surface of the water. So that when it gets closer to you, it starts coming up slowly.
Right.
But if you cast it out and like where you cast it, it's like 15 feet down, just kind of count it, guess on, maybe drop it in the water and take a look
and watch
see how fast it looks it falls.
3 seconds. And then,
a lot of times it's kind of like if you're counting like one, every time you say 1, 2, 3, that's like a foot. If you kind of get the cadence down, if you kind of see how fast it's falling, you can be like 1, 2, 3, wanting it to get 10 feet down before you start reeling it.
Okay.
You can do that.
And then you just start reeling it. It'll come in, whether it be inline or a regular spinner. They'll just, if you find the right speed, it'll come in at 10 feet until it has to retreat towards you, or it'll be in like a 10 to 10-foot range.
Right. Yep.
As you find that speed.
Yeah. I mean, it'll start picking up a little bit. It'll start coming up as you're reeling it in. But yeah, I mean, general rule of thumb, you're just kind of trying to get it down to where you want to fish it, and then try to keep it there. So that's all you got to do is just reel it in. And then you can give little pauses, reel a little bit, certain times reel a little bit faster and go back to your cadence. Just there's sometimes these irregularities are what trigger a bite.
Oh.
So just as you're reeling, just be reeling and then just go, whoop, and then reel again. Just even that little bit reeling and just stop, reel some more.
And let it sink a little bit.
Because that bait will be like spinning and all of a sudden it just stops, kind of falls, and then it moves again. So it almost looks like it pauses, to a fish. It might just be like something behind me. Oh shit, there is, and that's, the fish is just like, damn, it saw me out of its peripherals. I must eat it now. Or,
right. Yeah.
They're dumb. They swim too deep and don't breathe and then die. Anyways. Okay. But I was going to say, when you're talking about the different ways to fish it, some of it can get kind of tricky, like on this where the line can move. But these, for bass and stuff, you can actually let it fall too. And it will kind of spin in like a helicopter motion as it goes down.
Oh.
So you can even just like retrieve it and let it fall, and it'll kind of spin on the way down. And, there's some different things you can do to it. I know at the beginning we were talking about how we're not going to get into like how you fish everything. But there's options. So if you want to know how to do some of that stuff, you could definitely check it out. And there's a couple of different videos. I think I can't quote what they are right now off the top of my head, but I think I have a couple where it's literally like, here's one where they're talking about spinnerbaits, and they just go to all the pros and just be like, what do you do with spinnerbaits? And there's stuff you
everybody
can add
has a
to them.
Fucking way of fishing it.
Exactly. And there's stuff you can add to them. Some of them, when you're looking in the aisles, if you're looking at the prices and stuff, and you're like, why is that one so much more than that one? Well, different quality components, there's a spinner here. That ball bearing might be a little bit nicer. The metal that they used, it might not. This might be like a coated blade instead of like an actual whatever, copper this is for the color.
Yeah.
This one has, you can kind of see on my white background, it's kind of hard, but this one has like a longer skirt right here, a shorter skirt, and then a longer skirt.
Yeah, it has like a subskirt almost. That's longer than the outer skirt.
Always. Yeah, exactly. They don't all come with that. Some of them have a stinger hook where there's that extra hook attached to it.
Okay.
You can
buy
a stinger
hook, huh? That extra one.
Yep, that little extra stinger. This one has that stinger built in with the feather and everything wrapped on it with the musky lure. So yeah, there's a lot of differences, a lot of different components, a lot of different metals. Terminator, their rods, the actual metal piece is made out of titanium.
Oh shit.
So there's it might be like some sort of a titanium alloy, but there's titanium involved because they say it.
The metal part of the spinnerbait is made out of titanium. I mean, like, here you go.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
So then, let's wrap in the buzzbait, because I bought a buzzbait. I thought I had a spinnerbait when I came to do the visuals, like when I gathered up my lures for the visual aids on this, and I pull out a buzzbait, and I went, that's not a spinner. Because I knew what a buzzbait was. If you see the short video, if you go over to if you find us at Real AFTV on YouTube, in the short video, you'll see the buzzbait and all that stuff. There's info in there. So I pulled out the blade, but I still look at this thing, and mine's a cheap one. I know that. But it's still a metal rod. It's not a V shape on this particular situation, but it's just a metal rod with a weight and a J hook in it. Like I said, I said before a J hook, but it's just a regular hook. But the difference here, instead of a spoon-like blade, this thing is literally like a boat prop almost. I mean,
right. Yeah, because I mean, it's made to get the lift and stuff. Hey, hold on. Yeah. Keep yours held up for a second.
Oh, yeah. Okay, here.
I want to point something out. Like, lift that whole thing so you can see it. See, a big difference in a spinnerbait, why it's that V shape, is because these blades are over the hook. When you're
Oh,
fishing it, they're over. So you have to have that space so they can grab it. When you have yours there, that blade is well in front of the hook.
yeah.
So you don't have, it can be closer to the bait, because when they're only grabbing that back piece, because that front piece is keeping the bait on the surface, and that blade is on the surface of the water going plop, 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 plop.
Oh,
And that's a topwater bait. And
okay.
that back one, that's where they're going to hit it. And
Yeah, because the
put
blade is
different
so far back on this one that,
yeah,
I mean, it's so far forward, I guess, right?
right,
That, yeah, I mean, a bigger fish could grab that hook without any problem.
right,
And the spinner is right over the top, and
yeah,
that's why the V has the space. I love it.
right. So now I'll tell you this too. I mean, this is getting into a whole new bag of worms with other stuff that you can do. And this is a jig. I'm just going to hold it up for example. But this is a swim jig, but I have this paddle tail, like swim soft plastic on this hook.
Mm-hmm.
You can do that with one of these. You can remove this skirt and put that swim bait on here.
Oh,
You can get
so you
a
can take the
toad.
skirts off of buzzbaits and spinners?
Yes, you can take the skirts off of those. I wouldn't suggest you do that to ones you already have. They have ones that you can buy that don't have the skirt. If it
Okay.
has a skirt on it, I wouldn't pull it off unless you're like in desperation mode. Keep the skirts on the ones that you have skirts on, and buy ones that don't have skirts for certain stuff. There's a KVD sexy toad,
Yep.
I think
Sexy frog
is
or
the
toad. I have the
what
sexy frog.
I think the toad is the spinner.
Gotcha.
The
Yeah. Nope.
frog is
Frog is a frog.
the frog is a frog bait,
Okay.
and I think the toad is the spinner.
Yeah.
And the toad is like a soft plastic that has moving legs. And you
Oh,
put that toad on that hook like what you have there.
okay.
So you have the disturbance of the prop
Of the
on the
buzzbait.
top,
Yeah.
and the toad has the legs kind of swimming on the bottom.
Oh.
So that disturbance and the noise gets their attention, and when they look up, they see that toad fluttering, and they come up and they smash that toad.
Oh.
So there's
dude.
there's different kinds. You caught that one booyah buzzbait. That booyah buzzbait, when you look, what the fish sees when it looks up, it has it almost looks like two little eyeballs looking down at it. It's like a little face on the weight itself, and the weight is kind of like a triangle shape almost. It's a little bit different than the weight you have there.
Yep.
And that one has a skirt. But you can do a bunch of different stuff, man. You can put all sorts of stuff on there. And when it comes to these spinner baits too, there's smaller ones for smaller fish. Again, when I was talking about that Johnson minnow, there's some of the originators have been going back from a long time. They have one that's called a beetle spin, and that has a soft plastic on it that kind of looks like a bug, some sort of a grasshopper or whatever.
Okay.
And that's like a little safety pin style, where there's just a tiny little Colorado blade on that. And it's just a blade with that little, it's almost or like a regular jig that's on the back of that.
Okay.
Northland has the Mimic minnow. They have a Mimic minnow that has that spinner blade on. You can literally buy a pack of those spinners and put it on any jig you have.
Oh,
like that's more of a jig. Like, well, I don't think I necessarily have any right now, because I only grabbed like a Ned rig to kind of show what that was. But this kind of jig is a Ned rig where the jig head's pretty small.
Yep.
But essentially like a more rounded one that's not this not hydrodynamic, because this one's made to sit
flat on the earth, basically.
Yeah, see how it just kind of sits.
Oh yeah. It's just balancing on top of your hand. Like,
yeah,
it's just sitting on top of your hand, not even balancing.
yeah. So that one's not designed to do that, but you could just take this, you hook that one side here, and then it comes out and goes up, and then you have a spinner on that. You can do it to any jig you have.
Wow, really?
Yeah. So the spinner bait, there's a lot of different variations, a lot of stuff you can do, a lot of things you can play around with.
Holy shit. Well, on that note, okay, so just total transparency here on the podcast of like a little behind the scenes production stuff. It's like on the list right now are jigs and crankbaits.
Yeah.
We need to start wrapping up this topic.
Yeah,
before it just turns into a full 2 hours by itself. But that's why, since you just had the jig up and we
yeah,
just kind of you just kind of went on a rant of like, okay, spinner baits are nuts. We talked about buzz bait, which almost is a variation of a spinner bait even. And then you went into all these variations of spinner baits that are just jigs with spinners on them. I'm going, oh my
yeah,
God. I
yep.
didn't think the spinner bait was going to take up half this topic. So I'm wildly misjudged, because now the two jig and crankbait that are left, I'm like,
Yeah.
these were the broadest two. And that's why I had them at the bottom, because I knew that no matter what, we could get those to last an hour. But now I'm going, dude, are those individually their own topic? Can we squeeze? We can't squeeze them in here in the next 5-10 minutes.
Oh no, we're not gonna be able to, because I'll just show you real quick. Like, stay tuned for a later episode, because we got jigs, like I said here, where this is like a Ned rig. This is just like this would be for a Ned rig. This isn't a Ned rig. This is just a jig head for a Ned rig.
I don't even know what a Ned rig is, but
a
that's
Ned
fine.
head.
Keep going.
Oh, dude,
I know. Keep going.
We'll have to get into rigs a different time. The rigs is a whole different situation, because I can take one jig head and we can turn it all. The rigs are different. Yeah, there's so many different rigs, because it only takes a slight variation of what you change or how you hook the bait up before it becomes a completely different rig.
Oh my God.
So anyways, this is a jig head. This one is just a jig head by itself. There are different variations of this. This one's shaped kind of like a little mushroom head. You turn it upside down, looks like a little mushroom. That
but it's
one
got
is
a hook.
called. It's got a hook.
It's a hook.
It's got a hook. Yeah, it's like a mushroom umbrella.
Yeah, there you go.
So that's
perfect.
That's the Ned one. So like, obviously we're gonna talk about this more, but I was gonna say, like, here's like a big skirted jig, right?
Yeah.
We're just gonna we're gonna get into some layers. Skirted jig has the brush guard right here. This one's not made to bounce on the bottom because it's a swimming jig. What's on the bottom? A blade. There's a blade. There's an underspin on this guy.
What the heck?
So you can that's what I'm talking about, hybrids. You start mixing everything together.
Right.
There's a blade on this jig head. So that's a swimming, and then we put the soft plastic on there. This one you can just cast out and retrieve. This thing's kind of spinning and flashing underneath this with the skirt, and this is swimming, and it's just kind of.
And a jig in its broadest term, just a quick, is just like, it's just a weight connected to a regular ass hook.
Yeah, a weight connected to a hook.
And that's
it's like where you would tie the line onto the hook. There's just a piece of lead.
Yep. And it has a hook stuck in it.
In its most general sense. Now you get into all the different shapes and colors and all that other good stuff.
Which is why it has to be spun off, because otherwise we're just going to keep going, right?
Yeah. I should say too.
Can't believe
that thing. I want to go back to the spinnerbait because I forgot to talk about it.
What's that?
This is from Straight On with that safety pin style.
Mm-hmm.
The inline spinners are not this, so do not get it twisted. But inline spinners and buzz baits are great weedless options. The way they are designed, this is almost like a weed guard itself because of how that's set up. Like the hook is inline with that metal. So it's just deflecting stuff.
It's deflecting.
You can cast these spinner baits like in super thick cover. It's not going to work, but like in reeds and stuff, like the bull rush, the straight stick up.
Yep.
You know, I don't know how to explain it really good. A lot of people think it's wild rice. It's not all wild rice. But you can cast that shit into those, and most of the time retrieve it without getting hung up. It'll just deflect straight off of them. You can cast these spinner baits around docks and have it bank off the pole and actually like trigger bites when you have it contact the cover. If there's a rock, if there's a dock pole or whatever, it'll bounce off that pole and it'll create, you know, whatever. It might knock some algae off and have a little plume or whatever, but any of those irregularities can trigger bites. So I just wanted to go back to that because I forgot to say it. Those are great weedless options. The safety pins, the buzz baits, those all work awesome for weedless stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
I never would have thought of that, but yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes total sense when you say it like that.
Yeah. So the jigs, you got the skirted jigs where this is just a straight up skirted jig. This one's still in the box. That's a Berkeley. Weights here. This is a weed guard. So it's like it's I don't even know. It's like a coated metal.
Okay.
I think it's just like
it's got like a
metal
stick coming out of the lead that
it's
like a 45
yeah.
degree angle. There's almost like just a stick stuck at a 45 degree angle in the lead head, and it's just supposed to deflect weeds.
Yep, and that's just deflecting the cover off of the hook, and the hook's back there, and you have this skirt, and this is a Berkeley one, and it says right on here on the Berkeley one that it's a silicone skirt. So I don't know if
there you go.
They're probably not all silicone, but this one is.
Right.
So
right. Yeah. So there's different materials like we were talking about.
Those are all the different jigs. We can get into all those. And then real fast, as far as crankbaits go, which jerkbait could be its own bait altogether. But you have lipped crankbaits. That's a DT10 right there. Has a Rapala, super popular one. Lipless crankbaits, its own thing. Doesn't have a lip.
Yep.
Vibrates back and forth. Jerkbaits, long, has a bill on it still, but you fish it completely different. I mean, tune into a different episode.
And you'd still call it a crank. Like
you can still
fits in the category.
If fish is just like a crank, it'll work if you just cast it out and reel it in. But the jerkbait is designed to be fished different.
Yep.
Depending on the jerkbait.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So we're definitely I'm gonna cut those from the dock. We're gonna do version 2 or 3 or 4, or crankbaits might end up their own fucking thing. Who knows? Who knows at this point, knowing what we did, that since this is the first one we've done, I'm gonna peel the jigs and cranks off. That was very, very quick, high level. So that way we don't go, hour and a half on just one topic.
That's what I'm trying.
We're definitely, I love that you touched on
tuned.
Them. Yeah, exactly. That was the perfect teaser for the next time that we do this. Because that was this the highest level, and we didn't even go into visual descriptions because you were like, here it is. And so if you want to see what they are and you're not sure what they are, go over to YouTube, know that we're going to come back to these, and
sure.
See what Tim was talking about exactly by having the visual. But we're gonna touch back on them on a different podcast. Right now, we gotta cut this fishing topic off. We're gonna move into the random take, which is AAA gaming. That's what I'm calling it. I'm calling AAA gaming. We've been playing big games. I've been playing God of War.
Yep.
I've been playing Sonic Frontiers. You've been playing Pokemon. I know you want to sound off on it. We're gonna go into the break and talk about that. That was my video game sound effect. I don't know.
Dude, I was like, what
the hell was that? It's the alien takeover. We're going to go into the random take, talking about video games. That was a great, hopefully super informative topic. So if you know anybody, if you're already good and up on this stuff and you know anybody who's trying to learn, send the Real AF TV podcast their way and say, hey, I think you should check these guys out. All right, Tim, let's take a break.
Yeah.
Come back. Talk about some big name video games.
Big.
Here we are, patreon.com/RealAFTV. That's right, patreon.com/RealAFTV. Real like fish and reel. We are on Patreon, and we are coming to tell you, and by we, I mean me and Tim, Real AFTV podcast here, coming to you to say we have a Patreon as low as $1 a month, but hey, you could go up to 100 if you really wanted to get crazy with it. It's there. Go over to our website, realaf.tv. You can find the Patreon link right there, or go to Patreon and look us up, Real AF TV, Real Like Fish and Reel. And we have things like, for $50 a month, we will customize, what kind of tackle is it, Tim? We have some in the warehouse right now that we haven't actually ran.
A lure. Yes.
Lure. Thank you.
Is a crankbait.
Crankbait.
Yes. We will customize a crankbait for you.
At the $50 tier. Also, Patreon, if you're new to the whole Patreon thing, if you're on a podcast, you're probably not that new to it. But Patreon is something that you can jump in and out of. Like if you do $50 this month, bam, you get the custom lure, but you don't want to do that for the whole year, you jump down to the $5 a month tier where you're going to get early access content. You can help vote on the random take, one of the random takes for the month. And, we'll keep up with you on Patreon as well. Like just a direct Patreon contact. There's communication you do only through Patreon. That's what I'm trying to say. So if you're new, there's just a little intro to it.
Yeah. And to clarify that custom painted lure is a fully custom painted lure, like the pattern and everything. That won't be just something that we have a lure that we just like write Real AF TV on.
Yes. Thank you, Tim. Thank you for clearing that up, because yes, it's a slug, for lack of a better word, right now, and it will be turned into something.
Right.
I'm not good at the whole fishing lingo, so maybe Tim, you could evaluate on that a little, or like elaborate on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's right now it has no color, and I will give it color.
There we go.
It will look like a bait fish imitation of some sort. It might not be exactly colored. It might not be realistic. Some of that stuff out there that the different companies work with makes different stuff, but it will be a custom painted lure, and it won't look like dog shit. Because not to be like, too full of myself, but I have some talent.
You have some artistic talent. Yes. Yeah, very true. If you know friends and family and stuff like that got a few bucks to kick our way, let them know. RealAF.tv. Scroll down a little bit. There's the Patreon link. It'll shoot you right over. Sign up for a little bit.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Real AF TV podcast, show about fishing random takes from land 10,000 lakes. You have made it over into the random take. It's going to be about video games. I don't know why I chose that sound effect as
I like
video game sound effect, but
yeah.
So I got my cup. I went and got my drink. I got my cup. Got my PlayStation cup.
Yeah.
My PlayStation pint. It is my white and blue PlayStation pint, implying PS5. It's their new look. Yes, I do have a PS5. As if you've followed us long enough, you've seen it. And Tim, I want to talk about AAA gaming specifically. AA, AAA, whatever you want to say. It's AAA. I want to talk about these top tier games.
All right.
High end games, because you've been playing Pokemon, right?
Yep.
And you want to sound off on that? All right.
Hell
cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers quick.
Cheers. Yep. This shot's to the Wolves season being over.
And
we're technically down 3 games, no wins. The Nuggets have won 3. We got nothing, but the odds of
a comeback,
the 8th seed winning 4 straight against the 1 seed when we haven't won any of the games yet, and our team looks completely different than what it did in the season, because 2 of our big time players, one breaks his wrist and the other one decides he should punch a fucking wall.
Smart.
And break his hand.
You're worth millions. Might as well,
whatever. Anyways, those guys went out, and our team looks a little bit different than it did most of the season. So is what it is. Yeah, I ended up popping the bottle to celebrate that we made the playoffs, and now I will finish the bottle to drown my sorrows because my team sucks. Minnesota sports fans know the feeling all too well.
Yep. Hey, on my side, though, on the hockey side, we're looking good.
We're looking good. The Wild won tonight, so I'm going to pour another shot for that as we get into the topic here.
As we get into the video game topic. So here's the thing. Here's the reason why I want to bring this up is because I think you're ready to sound off on Pokemon. And I'm talking about the newest one, Scarlet and Violet. You have Scarlet, right?
Yes. Yep.
We have Violet. We ended up doing the double pack split thing, of course. Yeah, gotta love it. So,
hell yeah.
I think you're ready to sound off on that. I've been playing some high-end games, specifically Sonic Frontiers, which I would put in a triple. I would put up there, top notch. Sure. Sega. That's Sega's big. Yeah.
big
And
time
I mean,
Sonic game in a big open world. It's whew,
yeah.
big things.
Yeah, even though it doesn't have the greatest performance as far as like there's a lot of pop in the environment. Anyways, I'll get into it later. But the point
Okay.
is like I still would put it as a top tier AAA. This is a AAA title, Sega's big
Hell
flagship,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
Sega's nothing to sneeze at.
Sega.
And I've been playing God of War, Ragnarok, the
Yeah.
newest one. And this is all leading for me. It's all leading up to the new Zelda game, which that's why I wanted to talk about the big name games. But
yeah,
before we do that, my
what you got
beverage
there?
tonight is Oh My Darling, and I know it's hard
Oh
to see
my
with the lights.
darling.
It's an RTJ beer, dude. I was able to
They
get
make
it
beer?
shipped to me. Yeah. Bar
What did they?
TJ.
RTJ.
Yeah.
RTJ.
And they have Bar TJ.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
dude.
didn't know they made beer.
Yeah. They make beer,
That's
they make
so-
coffee. Dude,
They do.
Dude, Run the Jewels is fucking huge, man. It's crazy.
Is there
They just did some SB dunks yesterday on 420.
is there the on the can at all?
Oh,
Like I was
yeah.
expecting.
Dude, the pistol and fist?
Yeah. Oh, up there. I didn't see it. Okay, nice. I would have said like immediately, but it's kind of hard to see with all those lines on the camera there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I can see how, because it distorts it on camera for sure because of the compression and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is Oh My Darling, and it's basically a German lager.
Okay.
It's like the German style Budweiser, right? But which means it's better. But it also has with banana flavors. That's pretty good.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's pretty legit.
I like banana, dude. Banana and like that's one thing people don't always think about. Sometimes you're like, I don't know about those fruits. Well, they refer to beer as liquid bread.
Right.
Because it's yeasty. You put the fruits that work in bread and it works.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more bitter than I would hope for.
Yep.
But I have blueberry muffin beer in my fridge right now.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah, and it's pretty fucking good, except for it's a little bit more bitter on the back end than I was hoping. But it's still pretty good. I'd like it to be a little bit more mellow.
I know one summer there was a couple blueberry beers that came out, and me and you kind of bonded over those a little bit because we were both like, "Oh, you got, yeah." Oh.
Hell yeah.
We were even at the cabin one time when we both busted it up. Like,
dude, that blueberry beer at the cabin, I was already a little bit in, and I thought that was the best beer I ever drank. Yeah, and I searched for it everywhere, and then I got it, and I was like, that's still pretty good, but I was clearly a little bit drunk when I finally had this. Yeah. Because it's not the greatest beer I've ever had.
It's not the best beer ever, yeah, but it's really, really good.
It's heavy, but I mean, so is bread, like you talk about.
100%.
And just sit down and just be like, bring me another loaf. You get one and done. I mean, you could probably have like 3 of those beers, but it's not going to be something that you sit down and drink, beer after beer all night. It's not a light beer.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
There's no light bread.
So I actually, besides my sweet PlayStation glass that I have,
so sweet.
There was something else that I wanted to bring into the video game conversation that related to RTJ, because like I kind of only listen to RTJ because I don't work out enough. I should. I mean, let's not get into that. Because I don't snowboard. I haven't snowboarded in a while now because of COVID and all that shit too. But the point that I'm trying to get to here is like, there was a point in my teenage years where I would play video games without sound and just listen to albums.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah,
that was it. I would just turn on a video game. I would play it and there would be no sound. I would just be listening to music the whole time. And I'm like, God, RTJ is a fucking, all of them, all the albums. I could just fucking put on an RTJ playlist from 1 to 4 and just let it run and play an insane video game. But no, I play video games now, and Sonic is kind of an exception, but I'll get into that in a second. Like, every game I play now, I need to hear it. I need the dialogue. I need like God of War. It's a story game. That's what I play now. I don't play kart racers on end anymore. I don't play racing games for hours anymore. I just don't do that. And that's what I'm talking about when it comes to AAA. It's not that Gran Turismo isn't a AAA game, but outside of Gran Turismo, name one, like outside of Gran Turismo and Forza, right? Like don't fucking at me, Xbox people. But outside of those like those racing games, there's no other racing game that you couldn't just turn off the sound and play, and you wouldn't care.
No, not new shit for sure. But back in the day, we'd fucking D12 and Twisted Metal.
Mm-hmm. They're fucking the same. Twisted Metal Black and Devil's Night are just like, that's the soundtrack.
They it's like when you play that game, that should be on.
Yes, 100%.
It's just such a dark game. They even take the beginning of that. It's the beginning riff of that Rolling Stones song that I want to paint it black.
Yeah,
they have that beginning.
Door. Something about the door.
And then it just goes to that. Yeah. And then it's just,
I think it's called Painted Black, actually. But yeah, that game.
I see a red door and I wanna paint it black.
Yeah,
it's that song, but that beginning guitar riff goes ding 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 ding, and then the normal song goes and it comes in.
Yep.
But instead, that one does that riff, and then it goes to like this dark sounding music. And then it's like if you play the game, it's not much music. It's a lot of gunshots.
Yep.
All that shit.
Yep.
So then you put on Devil's Night. It's Devil's Night. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was our childhood.
Yeah, for sure, dude. And now it's like I'm playing God of War, and it's still reflective of my life. Like it's very great how they have grown with us.
Yeah.
And I say reflective of our life, of my life, because a lot of people call it Dad of War now. It got the nickname Dad of War with the first release on PS4. And now the new God of War is still on PS4. I have it on PS5. But the video game industry, we grew up with the video game industry. The video game industry grew up with us. And so it's really funny to be playing now. And I would never play music over my games anymore. I just don't play that kind of game. I want to play some like real-time strategy games, and that I could probably have music playing in the background, but I still want to hear the game because I still want to know when the enemy's coming in to attack my base.
Sure. Yes.
You know what I mean?
I think we had a little bit of a disadvantage with that on like Twisted Metal even. Yeah. But we didn't give a shit.
Nah, we didn't.
It's like you could hear a car coming up, but it's just like whatever. You get shot. That's how you know somebody's to your left.
Yeah, dude, for real. No doubt. And like God of War. And it's Kratos and his son. And they're going on an adventure.
Sure.
And there's like lessons to be learned. And Kratos is being a dad and shit. And it's just like, I'm just going to pop on these headphones and I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to learn some life lessons from Kratos. I'm a new dad. His kid's a teenager. He's got to know what the fuck's going on by now. You know?
Right.
It's just like,
dude,
it's so crazy how the industry has grown with us. And I'm just like reflecting on how I used to play video games and how I play games now. And it's not that I wouldn't play games like that again, given the opportunity. But like, I'm just all in on the story and this big AAA experience of needing the sound, needing the visuals, the feedback of the controller synced up to it.
Yep. Well, there's certain games too where I just needed to hear everything because of just what it is. Like Skate and Tony Hawk.
Really?
You know?
Yeah.
Like I needed to hear those. I wanted to hear the soundtrack
Yep.
first off.
Yeah.
Because they're skaters that understand what good music is, you know?
Oh, yeah,
It
yeah.
wasn't
Like
a garbage
the actual
soundtrack.
pro skaters are so involved in making that.
Yeah.
Making the culture of that game proper that it worked. That it just worked.
Yeah, music is a huge part of that culture. It
Yeah.
can't just be any random ass shit.
Yep.
So it's like it's skate music that makes sense.
Right.
So you're listening to that. But also I could do it with the sound off. I know I could.
Oh, for sure.
But I want to hear that pop of that pop of the board. I want to hear the grind. Rails. Yeah.
Yep.
I just want to hear those noises or like
even the wheels rolling, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that I just all that shit I want to hear it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So some of those noises I just want to hear, but there's also other ones where like Pokemon. I play with the sound off all the time.
That's kind of where this was. Yeah, that's why I kicked this off the way because my wife plays with the sound off. She's literally sitting there watching me play Sonic Frontiers. I hear nothing, and I'm like, "Wait, is it cool? Like, do you want the headset?" And she's just like, "No, I've never played Pokemon with the sound on."
Yeah. It's just like if anybody out there, one that's way more accessible is Pokemon Go.
Sure.
I play Pokemon Go every day, but the Pokemon Go has a soundtrack that I listen to at the beginning a little bit because I did enjoy the way it sounded.
Yeah, they did a good job.
Different. Yeah.
Yep.
And now
all the sounds, by the way, on Pokemon Go, not even just the soundtrack, but like the like ball boink. Boink and like when you throw it and the Pokemon noises, like everything. It's a well developed game.
It is for sure. Yep. But it's like none of that I need to hear.
Yeah.
So I have the sound off all the time. And with Pokemon, it's kind of a slower game. Yeah. And it is like an RPG, but it's an RPG that you play at your own pace. You know, it's never until now. Like where I'm doing online stuff with other actual players and stuff. Or even in the actual game, there's like the terror raids and stuff. So it's not all online, but those are timed. So that is shit you have to be like when you decide to do it, you have to be in it to win it. You have no choice.
Okay.
But that's still like, you never get forced into that shit. You just do it whenever you want to do it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You know, you can stop at any time. You can just go. And a lot of times I play that with a show on in the background.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll be sitting in the living room and I know my wife's got some shows that I don't watch that she does. And I'm just like, you can watch whatever you want. I'm going to play Pokemon. I'll just sit on the couch and play Pokemon. Yeah. You watch your
And so
shows.
You're still in the moment kind of. And we kind of talked about this about when we kind of did like Dad TV. I think it was the Dad TV episode. We kind of talked about it. But like you're still there. Right?
Yeah.
Like playing video games with music on or playing video games with the headset on. Like I'm checked out. I'm not totally checked out because I play with one ear off. Right. But like,
sure.
There are still moments where I'm just like, I need this. And bam, I got both headphones on. And I'm just like, and I check out. And I've heard the term podcast games now because podcasts, you know, like a podcast game replaces, we used to listen to a lot of music because we weren't listening to radio shows. Right.
Yeah.
So now a podcast game is kind of because 2 hours, a 2 hour long podcast, 2 hours of gaming. Perfect. Let's pair them together. Sure. You're doing TV and gaming together.
Yeah. Cause she'll watch her shows a lot of times.
Yep.
So I'll still be kind of like checking in and out. And like, she watches a little bit more like dramas. Like she likes the line of Chicago, everything. There's Chicago, Med, PD, Fire, all that shit. She watches all that stuff. So I'll be playing Pokemon and stuff, and then like I still like be in the moment a little bit. Yeah, like where she, you know, she enjoys it and she likes to talk about it. you know, obviously she's seeing that stuff, and then I'm just chiming in random shit and just like, ooh, she did not like that. You
know? Right. It's still maintaining, like, you're still in the room, you're still interacting with the people, your family in the room, right. But like you're getting your shit done too on the game.
Exactly. Yep. And then there are times too where if for whatever reason, you know, sometimes my son is going to bed and he'll, for whatever reason, just be like, I just want mom tonight.
Yeah.
You know, just
God,
like,
I'm
so
going
she's
through
just
that.
gonna,
Like, what?
yeah,
Sorry.
she's just gonna go put him to sleep, and you know, I don't argue it at all. I don't get offended. You know, at first it was just like, all right, dude, whatever. I don't need to be in the room. And now he's just like, I just want mom, and I'm like, fuck yeah, bro. Nuts, you know.
You get it.
Yeah. I go sit on the TV, and then I'll put on like Better Call Saul, because Better Call Saul has like no actions. You almost don't need to see anything that's going on, because it's like the story of a lawyer for the most part. Yeah. So
I mean, I don't watch it, but I know enough about it. Yeah.
Right. Or I'll put on, you know, we were talking a little bit before this. I listen to weird serial killer shit, and sometimes I'll put on like some of that true crime stuff. Like Netflix has like I'm a stalker, I'm a murderer, and you're like listening to these people talking about like, oh, I, you know, stalked this lady, I'm a murderer, which I'm a stalker seems to be like almost the exact same shit. They're just like, I like followed
this is
her
why
around.
restraining orders are almost always put on stalkers, because stalkers are just murderers. Like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah, you're just like, what's the difference between I'm a stalker and I'm a murderer? Well, I'm a stalker. They like follow him around a little bit first, and then they, like, you know,
and then they fucking murder him.
It's the same thing, except for they just like hide in the bushes for a little bit first.
Hide in the bushes for a little bit.
But yeah, I'll do that kind of stuff where you don't necessarily need to watch it. Like, you can hear the dialogue and it's good enough. So that totally makes sense to me.
Yeah.
That they're like, it's a podcast thing. But because I'm a driver, I'm listening to podcasts all day. So when I get home, I do want to put something on.
Right.
And I do like the visual too, because I don't have to listen. I don't have to watch everything. But every once in a while, I'll hear something, and then it's not hard to just rewind it. You know, everything's so easy to do that on. You just have to pick up your remote, like, you know, 30 seconds back. And then just watch real quick and just be like, oh shit, that was crazy. And then it goes back to like dialogue, and you're like, all right. And you keep gaming.
And then you get back to your game. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, there's plenty, but there are a lot of times too in that game, mainly during like the storyline and stuff, where I would get to certain spots where it's like a certain, you know, you're fighting this gym leader, or you're at the main boss towards the end of the game and all this other stuff. Then I would turn it up just to be like, I got to hear what the creators did here. I want to hear the music and
all the sound effects and shit like that.
Yeah. So I will turn it up for those moments, but for the main parts of the game, I just like, I don't need to hear the same shit over and over. You know, the Pokemon goes like just that over and over and over for a while. You're just like, okay, maybe turn down that and put on some real music, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I agree. I got you.
Yeah.
So the way we're talking, I mean, this kind of took a different turn than what I was expecting, because I called it like talking about AAA, like big game gaming, and giving you like sound off on Pokemon, but sound off on Pokemon is what it really kind of turned into. And for me, that still like, that doesn't discredit Pokemon though. Like, I still think that Pokemon is a huge game. It is a AAA experience. Is that like top
for sure
gaming experience, right?
Dude, this Pokemon game has held my attention for so long while I played the story mode, beat the main storyline. It adds stuff after the storyline. And now there's online stuff with the terror raids and being able to like shiny hunt and get perfect IVs and all this other stuff.
Oh shit.
That there's so much to this game that like I have completely beat the game as far as any storyline goes. And I am still excited to come home and play it.
Oh, no shit, dude.
Yeah.
Like still till like today as we record this podcast, you're like, I still come home and I put in my 20 or 30.
As we record this podcast, tonight I had to run errands and I was kind of bummed that I didn't get home in time to play a little bit of Pokemon before we recorded.
Yeah, because the podcast got in the way.
But it's like the podcast didn't get in the way. It was the errands that got in the way.
Okay,
the podcast is fun.
Right.
And Pokemon's fun. It was the other shit that
it was
took
the, like,
me away from the two fun things I wanted to do. Yeah, it was the grown stuff that took away all of my fun.
For sure.
I just wanted to have a bunch of fun.
Right.
And then grown shit took away some of it. So
wow, dude, that's
and there's an
crazy.
Expansion pack. There's an expansion.
What?
It's like
it's
like $35, but I don't know what you
out?
get, so I haven't done that yet. Yeah, I think it's like right on the thing. It's like $35, but I don't know.
Shit,
exactly
I knew that was there.
Is.
I did know that they were releasing it. I just didn't know.
Yeah,
that it was
so
out,
I don't know what that entails, what's all involved and stuff, but yeah, there might be
I'll see if I can find
there might be a couple of new Pokemon in there too, because these terror raids that I'm doing, in the main game, there's like 3, 1 through 4 star initially. You eventually unlock 5 star in the game.
Okay.
When you beat everything, you unlock 6 stars. And in the special things, there are 7 star raids in the terror raids.
Jesus.
7 star raids have level 100 Pokemon. And the Terra brings so much more depth to this game.
Really?
Because you essentially have these Terra, if people don't know, these Terra types, it's like this crystallization, and you're actually able to it's not terrorize, it's like terravolve. I forget, terraform. I think it might be terraform your Pokemon into whatever type that is. So now you essentially have one type. The Pokemon becomes that type that it terrorizes to. But because the Pokemon is what it actually is, it's able to do moves that are the counters of what would be strong. So, say,
yeah, give an example. I wrap my head around it, I think, the way you said it, but like, please.
I mean, so I'm trying to give, like, right now, there's a Typhlosion 7 star raid, and the Typhlosion is initially a fire type.
Okay.
The Typhlosion, it's like Houston region, because Pokemon recently has been doing this in the last couple of games too, where there's different region Pokemon, where that Pokemon is the same Pokemon it was, but now it's a dual type. And I believe that one is ground and fire.
Or it looks different too? And it looks different? Or
it's a little bit different. No, they both.
Yeah.
It's
because like the Alolan Rattata totally looks different.
Yes. Yeah, it's black instead of the brown that it normally is. And the Rattata, the Alolan one, stands on its back, on its hind legs.
Yep. You're right.
And the original stands on all fours, like a rat would.
Yep.
So yeah, there's a little bit different, but the Typhlosion is a ground type and fire type, I believe. And I think it's like a purple, so it's a different color altogether.
Okay.
So that one, fire type, is weak against ground type, right?
Okay.
So that one already has dual typing. So it is able to do a move that's super effective against the kind of Pokemon that it is. So it already changes stuff. But then that ghost type, like, so I have my Skeledirge, which is what the starting Pokemon fully evolves into, right?
Okay.
That crocodile, that fire crocodile.
Fire. Yep.
That guy is fire and ghost. So when you see the ghost type, you're like, oh, my ghost type is super effective against ghost type.
Right.
And because that Typhlosion is a fire type, he can't even hurt me with his fire moves. But because he's also a ground type, he's gonna fuck me up with those ground type moves. I can't touch him with that Pokemon. So
Yep.
it's like it brings this different level. That's not the best example of like where
But
the Terra type takes it away. Like some of them, like where it becomes like a dragon type or whatever.
yeah.
Dragon is only strong against like I forget exactly what it is. It doesn't.
Yeah, but
I'm
go
not
ahead.
making the good point. But when you add a type, the Pokemon is able to be one type, and it's able to do moves that type shouldn't be able to do because it's technically not that type. It just becomes that type when it terraforms, and it's still the Pokemon that it was before. So it just brings this whole new layer
because it's still not weak to. It's not weak to be attacked, but it's strong attack.
Right. I mean, like think about it like this. This is a good, instead of trying to talk about like what Pokemon can do what, think about it like this. A fire type Pokemon is weak against water type Pokemon, right?
Yep.
But if its terraform was water, now it's a water type Pokemon that does fire type moves.
Yeah.
And the water type moves against that fire type Pokemon don't do shit to it because it terraformed into a water type Pokemon.
Right. Yeah.
So now you have to figure out a different way to hit it.
Right.
And you'd be like, oh, I could be a ground type Pokemon because that's super effective against fire.
Yep.
Water is super effective against ground.
Yep.
So it's just this whole new chess piece of trying to figure out the Pokemon.
And that is how I wrapped my head around it the first time. You explained it to a gamer, as a fellow gamer. The first way you explained it may have not seemed like enough detail, but I did wrap my head around it that way.
Okay.
I did start to get a little bit confused. So, I mean, I'm not that you did a bad job. What I'm saying is that
I think I just went too far in the weeds of the actual Pokemon
themselves instead of just the elements, right? Instead of focusing on the elements. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it makes total sense. And that is exciting to hear because this game has been around for so fucking long. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't even remember.
Not to mention the storyline. Did your wife tell you anything about the storyline?
No, but that's actually, I'm glad that you say that because like even the anime started now, even the anime changed storylines.
Okay.
Like
sure.
Ash is gone now. And the storyline is what I always, back to me playing God of War. That's what I really think of as a AAA game is the storyline. And you're like, well, I'm playing with the sound off and all this stuff. It makes me think like, well, could the storyline be strong? The answer is yes, huh?
Yeah, but
and you can go full spoilers. I don't give a shit, dude.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing with Pokemon. You don't have to have the sound to catch the storyline because it's all reading. There's no
of course.
dialogue.
Nintendo games
it's all reading.
Rarely have actual VO. You're right.
Yeah. So it's all reading. You don't have to have the volume on at all. But the storyline is hands down the best storyline they've ever had in a Pokemon game.
Really?
Yeah, dude. Pokemon games normally don't have that good of a storyline. It's just that the games are really fun to play. But this one actually has like a decent storyline. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. There's a part in it that makes you like want to cry.
Holy shit.
Yeah, they get emotions out of you.
No
There's two
kidding.
parts where you're like, damn, dude. Yeah. I'll just say that there's like a long-haired dude that looks kind of like a cocky dick. Like he comes off as kind of like an ass, and you're just like, I don't know if I like this guy. And then his whole like the storyline is almost like centered around him, where it's like tragic.
No shit.
Yeah, there's some tragedy.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah. It gets a little bit repetitive. There's certain parts, but like that's what it is. You got to keep that's what you're doing in the game.
Sure.
You
It's
got to
kind of the
beat
nature of an RPG in general. I mean, they've gotten a little bit better about the balancing for grinding and all this shit, but like
Sure.
that's kind of how RPGs are.
Yeah. That's why I stopped playing Assassin's Creed. I played the first one.
Yeah.
And it was like sneak in this crowd of people and kill that guy and then climb up to the top of the building and do a swan dive off and repeat.
And repeat.
And it's just the same thing over and over and over and over and over. And I was just like, I'm done. I don't even want to try to progress any further. You know, like I have no idea how far I got in that game, and I was pretty over it pretty quick. So other people probably shit on me for saying that, and they probably love it because, I mean, it was good enough to try to make a movie out of, but not all video games that are made into movie are great.
No.
But I did go and see the Super Mario Bros. Movie, and that's fucking dope.
Okay, that's all I needed to hear. That's all I wanted to hear. I don't think.
But the new Super Mario
didn't make it
Bros.
to Avatar,
movie,
so I don't think my
one.
wife's gonna let me go see.
Side note: have you ever seen the live action Super Mario Bros. That came out from when we were a kid?
Oh yeah,
where it's the Super Mario guy, and then John Leguizamo is like not even his actual brother.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, just
those fucking Koopas are the weirdest fucking looking.
Everything's backwards. The Koopas are huge. King Koopa is small. None of it makes any sense.
That movie's fucking weird, dude.
It's terrible. It is not a good movie at all. Yeah, the new movie is good though. Yeah.
Good.
I enjoyed it.
I'm glad to hear that.
The funniest thing I'll have to say is that the critics, if you look at the critics, on Rotten Tomatoes, the critics don't necessarily like it. The users, it's like 98%.
Yeah.
Like everybody loves it.
Critics
and the critics,
like
some of them don't like it. Yeah, because when you read them, they're just like, it's kind of just like watching somebody play a video game. It's the Super Mario Brothers movie. The fuck were you expecting? Just like, come on. And I saw it. It's not.
Right.
It is not.
Yeah.
It is like an action movie in certain parts that are very video game like because it's based off of a video game in a video game world.
Right. Right.
You people are idiots.
You dummies.
Yeah. Just so stupid.
That's funny.
I cannot believe some of the critics that are allowed to be out there and shit on people for those stupidest things
like,
in the
what
world.
What did you expect from a video game movie?
Like what were you expecting? Yeah. It's like you go and see the Julia Childs movie and you're just like, there was a lot of food in it.
There's so
a lot
much
of people eating. She was a chef, a television personality chef.
Right.
Yeah, there's food in it. Did you go to 50 Shades of Grey and be like, I could have done with all that sex stuff? Like, this is what the movie is.
What else did you fucking expect?
What at all were you expecting? The Super Mario's brother movie in the trailer shows all the different characters that are involved in Super Mario Brothers. Did you have a different idea of what it was? I mean, honestly, like if it would have been anything else, you should have ripped it apart for not being that.
Right.
Just like what the first one was. You should have came in and you should have been just like, I mean, like I want to sit down with these people and ask them what they were expecting.
Right.
Did you want to know the backstory? Well, I mean, it was like a video game. I really wanted to know like why Luigi was scared of stuff. Like I know in like the Luigi's Mansion, like he chases ghosts and he's always a little bit of a scaredy cat, but why? want to get into like his childhood. I want to know what traumas he has to make him so scared. And it's just like, what are you talking about?
You're right.
It's just ridiculous. And honestly,
because like they couldn't handle the fact that these characters had pre-established backgrounds.
Right. It's just like, what is going on here? Right. I can't believe that you're just like, is that the same? What did they say about Wreck-It Ralph?
Too much.
Was that like watching people play a video game?
Right. Yeah.
Just like
too many video game references. 1 star.
The Lego movie was like watching people play with Legos. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. So, because I was talking about traumas this week, the new Evil Dead movie comes out.
Oh shit.
And that movie looks so fucking good. And I'm so not happy with them running the ads on every fucking NBA game. So I'm trying to watch basketball and my son's in the room. And then it's like the creepiest goddamn commercial you've ever seen. And I'm just like, as soon as it comes on, I'm like, Beckett, look over here.
Hey,
like, don't turn your silly. Head. Look at dad. Look at dad. Don't turn your head. Just because just the image of that lady's face is so creepy. Oh, dude. I don't know if you've seen the trailers, but it's.
I don't know. I haven't yet.
Her voice is a little bit lower and she's saying just like the most demented shit, but it's like it can still air on TV because she's not swearing.
Right.
They're just they're looking at this creepy looking lady and they're like, Mom, and she's like turning her head kind of, and she's like, Mommy's with the maggots now. You're like, Jesus. Whoa, Jesus Christ. This is up, like dude. A normal daytime TV. My 4-year-old shouldn't hear this shit yet. And then the creepiest looking like face is like looking through the keyhole, it looks like, and they're like, Mom, are you feeling better? And she's like, the creepy looking face is like, nothing a big hug from you won't fix.
Oh God.
It's just like, Jesus, I can't have my son see this shit yet. So
too soon, man.
Too soon. So that's part of it where like I gotta have the volume down on the Switch so I can intercept when I hear that stuff. Because if I'm ever zoned out and then I look up and all of a sudden he's just like wide-eyed staring at this creepy ass face, I go, oh no.
Oh shit.
I
shouldn't have had the fucking headphones on.
We haven't seen anything that creepy yet, so we're not having terrible nightmares,
Right.
But that will be nightmares, I guarantee it.
Right.
I know what I was when I was I know what I was when I was a kid.
Right.
And I know that I saw stuff like that when I was a child, and it fucked me up a little bit. Where you'd wake up and you just be like, every dark corner in the room, all that other shit. Like when you're a kid, that shit affects you, and I know it. And I'm like, I just want to be able to sleep.
Right.
I don't want him.
I want to
running into our room.
Call it selfish, but fuck that. I want to sleep.
Yeah. And it is a little bit selfish, but also like I don't want him to get fucked up. So it's the same way with some of the different video games and stuff too, where like I want to play them, but like
like Resident Evil 4, like that would be another AAA remake, right? It's Resident Evil 4 remake.
Yeah.
Yeah. You probably want to play the fuck out of that game. It's one of your favorite games, right?
Yes, 100%. One of my favorite games of all time.
But you can't play that with the fucking sound off.
I cannot play it. I can't play that. Switch. I have to play that with the sound on. I have to be able to see everything.
Yeah.
And I can't have him hear that. It'd be headphones, if anything.
Right.
And then I'm going to be jumpy. He's going to be like, Dad. I'm going to be like, what? Fuck. Jesus Christ. Then I'll be swearing. He'll be telling on me right away.
What the Jesus Christ, kid? What the fuck are you doing sneaking up on Daddy?
Jesus. You understand? I'm trying to, kill this bitch that's got a chainsaw. She's trying to cut my fucking head off. He's just going to be like, what? He says, can I see anytime I have anything? I'm trying to show Shannon something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to show her some stats. of a basketball game.
Yep.
He can't read. None of it matters. Can I see?
Right.
Yep. If you would have heard any of the words I just said to your mom, this isn't anything you want to see.
Yeah, you would have been nothing. You would have done nothing. Same. Yeah. I'm going through the same thing, just 2 years younger. And it's the same. Like, that's why the only time I can play with Sonic, it's not so bad. She's watched me play Sonic.
Oh,
Sonic's been great.
Yeah.
Like, you can play Sonic, it's fine.
Yep.
Lots of fast movements and stuff like that. I do kind of worry because it's so fast. I'm kind of like, well, I guess we'll find out if epilepsy is a real thing. Not a real thing, but if it's a thing that, plagues my child. Obviously it's a real thing. But the other thing that with like, I'm playing God of War and then I'll go get her from her nap.
Sure.
Bring her downstairs. Okay, you sit down here. Daddy's going to get to a point where he feels like he can save it. And then all of a sudden I fucking axe someone in the chest, pull the axe out, axe the motherfucker in half, and turn around and start spewing blood out of the next person as I'm hitting him with giant blades that look like knives. And I'm just like, man, it's probably too soon for that. Shouldn't probably be cutting motherfuckers in half with an axe.
Right. Yeah, some of that, I mean, some of it is like, I think they can handle it. But it's like the real creepy. I think it's all up to parents' discretion.
Oh, I agree.
I think you learn what your kids can handle. And I think violence isn't that big of a deal because they understand what is real and what isn't. He watches Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Right.
Side note, dude, have you seen some of that new the newest Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? And how some of that shit is like borderline horror movie? Me and Shannon were looking at it.
Rise of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Maybe, I think. I don't know.
I don't think it's
I want to say it was like 2017 or whatever.
Oh.
I think is when.
Yeah, the 3D one.
Yeah, the 3D one.
Yeah, I watched that whole series.
Yeah. Some of that shit is like me and my wife are looking at each other like, what the fuck?
Oh, yeah, dude.
There's some of it is like super gnarly.
It's good.
I mean, like, I'm trying to protect him from stuff, and I'm not expecting the Ninja Turtles to be scary at all. And there's that one where the girl, I don't know if it's April or if it's a different girl.
Yeah, it could be Shredder's. That's a weird way of putting it. If you watch the whole series, it's weird, but like the girl that is Shredder's daughter, kind of purple. Okay. She has like purple.
Maybe. I don't know, because this is talking about that girl's mom. And that girl's mom like becomes this giant monster thing. And then
I don't know if I remember that.
The giant monster thing gets the head of the mom. So it's like this creepy head that's just like,
I'm trying to recall that part.
Take care. And then the fucking face splits in half. And it's like, wow. And I'm like, and I'm looking at my wife like, this is straight out of, like, this is the fucking thing. Yeah, this is the fucking
watching this
thing.
On Netflix, right?
Yeah. I'm like, this is gnarly.
And it's 3D, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I don't recall that one, but yeah, that was the comeback. Yeah. My 13-year-old nephew, that's his fucking Ninja Turtles.
Is the one you watch with why can't I think of his first name right now? Black. He voices one of the characters.
Jack Black.
Comedian.
Oh,
stand-up comedian.
You're talking about Lewis Black.
Lewis Black.
Yeah.
Yes. And one of the guys is voiced by Lewis Black.
Yeah, that's the 3D one.
Yeah. So we're definitely talking about the same.
Yeah, because I'm watching the newest one also. Like right now, I'm in the middle.
Oh, there's a brand new
of the newest one, which is 2D animated again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'll have to find that one because that one's probably better for him. Because there's a lot.
So far, that one's pretty damn kid friendly. The one you're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know how many moments of it because I didn't take it in as a dad. I was watching it majority of the time while my wife was pregnant.
Sure. Yeah. So he doesn't seem to get phased by a lot of that stuff anyways. He hasn't had nightmares. He hasn't woke up a lot about that. So, I mean, if he is scared, he doesn't tell us.
Right.
He's not whining about it. He might
Yeah.
know that if he whines about it, we won't let him watch it again.
Yeah.
So maybe he's just being strong or whatever. He does wake up in the middle of the night sometimes, like scared and like running out of his room, but he doesn't say shit. He wakes up in the middle of the night,
Oh my
runs out of his
God.
room. We're like, "What's
That's
going on,
creepy.
dude?" And he's just like out of it, and then he'll just go lay back down.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy. Okay.
Yep.
We got off on quite some tangents there.
That was a tangent.
Let's just wrap up this topic. What was supposed to be AAA video games, and it was.
We do play AAA video games. Ninja Turtles. We did go and buy another set of controllers, so we have 3-player. Me, my wife, and my son all Ninja Turtle it up.
Yeah. What is Shredder's Revenge?
Shredder's Revenge.
I agree with you. That is a AAA game. That thing is done with such quality. Some people would say you can't put it in the same level of Resident Evil 4 or the God of Wars or, the Pokemons of these ones that get, I don't want to say so much more time and investment in team. Like that doesn't, to me, make a AAA game. That game's level of dedication to quality on all levels and amount of game that you get, it's AAA.
Yeah.
I agree.
And being what it is, like
it's a beat 'em up, right?
It might not have been like the same depth as some of the other games, but you wouldn't want that.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want like how Pokemon has all the different IVs and the sandwiches that give you different catch rates and shiny rates and all this other stuff. Like you wouldn't want all that extra shit. You want to beat them up. You want to be able to hop on that game.
Yep.
3 people grab controllers.
Yep.
And just go fuck some shit up.
That's right. It does exactly what it's supposed to do perfectly. And that level of quality and detail to like attention to detail makes that game a AAA game, in my opinion.
And that's one bringing it full circle that you do have to have the sound on because that soundtrack is a banger.
My God. I've listened to it by itself on Spotify while I'm working. I'll just turn it on.
Yep.
It's so good.
And there's warnings, like not just the soundtracks, but there's warnings. There's like sound cues where there's like visual cues, but they'll be like blink, blink.
Yep.
And then like there's some shit coming. You got to jump out of the way.
Right. You get the visual and the audio cue, and it helps.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. Yeah. That one, if I shut off the sound completely, I think it'd be crazy. It'd be too much visual chaos without the sound to accompany it.
Right.
If you listen to a different song while you were playing that, I don't even know what happened. Maybe that's how you trigger.
I don't want to know, but I agree with you.
Maybe that's how you trigger the epilepsy.
Maybe that's a different way to trigger it. Maybe.
Put on some music. Put on the intense flashing and stuff, and a different music that doesn't line up, and your brain just goes, "Cannot." And your brain's like,
"What the fuck?"
Just blow a fuse.
All right, dude.
Yeah, man.
Let's wrap it up. Like, subscribe, do all that stuff. We are found by looking up Real AF TV. Just look up REELAF TV on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, especially over on YouTube. If you're listening to this on the audio feeds, like on Spotify or Amazon or iTunes, we have a YouTube channel. There's good stuff over there. It is found by going to youtube.com/@RealAFTV or just go to realaf.tv. That's where all our shit is. That's really the easy way to find us, because then you got the Patreon link and all the audio links and all that fun stuff. So you can just find us on the website, realaf.tv. Please share with a friend. That'd be great. Any feedback you want to give us? We're listening. We are we went to graphic design school together. We know what critical critiques are. We know how to take useful feedback.
Yes.
We'd love to hear it. realaf.tv/contact. You can find us there. You know how this goes. You're on the podcasts already, so do the like, subscribe, and all that fun stuff to help out the algorithm, get us bumped up there a little bit, help the viewership, help the listenership, and all that fun stuff. Tim, you know what?
Yep.
We never talked about that reel. That reel about it's a video game reel. Like it has a video game reference, and I showed my wife.
Yeah.
So, you know which one I'm talking about? Okay, it's the newscast, right?